Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio, back in the studio today. And today I'm going to use a guitar pedal as a rack effect in the studio on a mix. This is the NUX Atlantic delay and reverb. It's not a sponsored video or anything like that. I bought this because I needed another reverb in my rack so I can do these console mixes and these videos. And I also wanted some kind of an outboard delay. So I got this. It's a really cool pedal. It has a +4 -10 switch, which makes it perfect for interfacing with your studio equipment or your console. It's also stereo, and like I said, it has 3 different kinds of delay, 3 different kinds of reverb, a lot of options. I'll go into this further in the video, but just to say, that's what I'm going to do. Use this thing on this mix today. And I'm going to be doing the same song that I mixed in the last video, the song Keeping Up with Relaxation from my 2010 album Subliminal Moonshine, which is a rock song. I don't know what I'm going to use this on yet. Probably the kind of melodic fuzz guitar. So here is the new studio rack delay and reverb, which is actually a guitar pedal. But it has a -10 +4 toggle switch on the back of it, so you can set this to the level that will work with your console or your other studio equipment. And I'm using it on the 60s delay style. I've tapped the tempo of the song into it, and I have the repeat knob set about like that. I'm also using the reverb, and I have that set to the hall reverb on the little toggle switch up here. You can see those better now, hopefully. On this pedal, the level is supposed to change the size of the room, and then of course the decay right there. Really cool little pedal. I'm glad to see that it functions really well as a rack effect for studio use, because that makes it a dual use pedal. I can use it here in the studio when I'm mixing through the console as one of 2 delays or 2 reverbs, and I can also use it with my guitar amp in the effects loop or even in front of the amp. A couple of really cool things going on that are different in this version of the mix. Number one being, I found a different bass line, which was actually played on a 5-string bass. Originally I played the 4-string bass, which was the bass line that you heard in the last mixing video of this same song. That was my original bass line. Well, then it was replaced before the album was actually released back then. A friend of mine played a 5-string bass track on it, but the version that's actually out there on download sites and on iTunes is a second bass track that I played after I lost the files from my friend's 5-string bass track. Well, I recently discovered, after going through lots of backup drives, I found the 5-string bass track for this song. So I have reconstituted the project there on the DAW, and I've got it coming out through the Soundcraft Sapphyre console, and I've got some more patch cables, so I have the Yamaha Rev500 hooked up again in stereo this time. So we've got a lot of new things to add to this mix of the song Keeping Up with Relaxation from my 2010 album Subliminal Moonshine. So check it out. Let's mix this song, and as usual after the mix I'll show you all the details. But first, I usually show a couple things up front, then I mix, and then I show a lot more detail afterward. And here's the NUX Atlantic delay reverb with the guitar going through the console. The guitar track is here, and then the return from the NUX Atlantic pedal is over here. Let's kill the return from the pedal. Turn it back on. I decided on these background vocal tracks here to go ahead and send that through the NUX Atlantic here on AUX 4. And then I'm also still sending a little bit of those to the Rev500 for some of that reverb to blend it better with the lead vocal. So we have the lead guitar, kind of fuzz guitar, and the backing vocals both going through the NUX Atlantic. I think it's important to know that I don't change these tracks. What you hear whenever I'm mixing these songs in these mixing videos is the output of the console printed back into the computer. I don't run any other plugins, any kind of compression or anything like that after the fact. I may adjust it a little bit in the video editing software with the fader there to keep it in line with my voice of the parts where I'm speaking, but I don't change it at all. So what you see is what you get. And I just thought you all should know that. Now let's mix this song.
Just speak up and tell me what you mean. Come on in, don't care. Don't give in, just to give it up. But leave it in your daydreams. Know you work too hard. They can hear you, but they just don't care. Do not invite them in. You know I couldn't win. And you learn quickly. Your dreams are already dead. As much as it will ever be. And I'm so tired of this. Stepping over that fine line with needles of fire. Sometimes melting you down quickly. I know I should have learned. I know to even up. And you learn quickly. Your dreams are already dead. As much as it will ever be. And I'm so tired of this.
Guitar pedals these days have gotten really good, so yeah, you can definitely use them as a studio effect, especially something like this. A lot of these manufacturers now, JHS and Keeley, all these different manufacturers make really nice reverb and delay pedals that you can easily use on a send with a console, or your interface or whatever if you want something different from the plugins or your average rack gear. So these are a great thing to use. For this version of the mix, I used the Yamaha Rev500 digital reverberator again, and that's mainly a little bit on the snare drum and on the background vocal and the lead vocal. So I'm using that in conjunction with the NUX Atlantic reverb and delay. The beautiful, beautiful RNC on the main mix bus. 2-to-1 ratio, attack and release are 2 and 0.3 roughly, using a little bit of makeup gain. On the lead vocal with the Urei LA-10, I'm using a ratio of a little bit less than 3-to-1, medium fast attack, middle of the road release, the detector circuit 1 notch toward peak. Bass guitar, the attack I've got set at 1.5, release is relatively quick at 60 for this compressor, ratio 5.5-to-1, and I'm actually using the peak limiter here. The LA Audio 4x4, I'm using just the compressor part, and none of the gates are being used, but this is the kick drum compressor settings and the snare drum compressor settings. As you can see, I've got a relatively fast attack, kind of medium release on the snare, and again, I just use my ears when I'm adjusting these things because it's always different depending on the sound that you're processing with one of these. And over here, the kick drum, a little bit slower attack and a relatively quick release. And I've got the ratio on both of them set around 4-to-1. Well, the snare's 3-to-1. So I'm really not compressing these all that much, except this little compressor can really nail the drums if you want it to, and that's all you need. These are not EQ'd in any way. Oh no, I'm just kidding. They're EQ'd a bit. Just adding some attack to the kick drum around 2.8K and a little bit of this high shelf. Snare drum, a little bit of 80 being added, a little bit of 7K, and removing some low mids. This is the overheads. I'm actually, for some reason, oh no, this is a toms, that's why. Boosting just a teeny bit of this low frequency shelf and a little bit of low mids on the 2 toms. Overheads, I'm boosting this a lot more because the last mix of this on the channel that I did the other day, it sounded like the cymbals and overall the mix was too dark. So I'm brightening up the overheads here, still boosting some 7K and removing some of the high, low mids right there. This is the room mic. Removing a little bit of these highs here so that it's not as harsh. I'm mainly just trying to get the bigness of the body of the drums themselves. So removing some of the highs to keep as much cymbal out of that room mic as I wanted to until it sounded right. Bass guitar, I mean that bass track is just out crazy. So it had a lot of sub in it since it's a 5-string bass part. So I'm taking a little bit of that out, getting a little bit of the noise out of the high end, but boosting some high mids to have the nice aggressiveness that we want on the bass for this song. Electric guitar tracks, these I didn't change the EQ on from the last mix. A little bit of high shelf there, removing some lows there because this is that crazy kind of fuzz tone guitar and it's just too thick in the mix, so I had to remove some from that. Moving along our heavy guitars, just pulling out some nastiness in the high mids, and really that's all I did on those. These would be the background vocals and the lead vocal, and here I'm just treating those a little bit differently depending on what it is, you know. These 2 background vocal tracks both need a little bit of different things, plus it gives it a little bit of a bigger stereo image on those. And those have some Yamaha Rev500 reverb. That's being fed here from AUX 3 on mainly these vocal tracks. The acoustic guitar is going to the Rev500 for reverb, and a tiny bit of the snare drum, which is way down here. Snare drum, just a little bit of that's going to the Rev500 reverb. And of course we've got one that's going to AUX 4 here, which is the NUX Atlantic delay reverb pedal, and that's returning over here. Where is the fader? Oh, over here, and that's the return from the NUX Atlantic delay and reverb pedal. I think the NUX Atlantic delay reverb combination pedal works great as a studio effect. You can use this in your guitar rig, and as I've shown today in the video, it works very well as like a studio rack effect like my Yamaha Rev500. The reverb is really high quality. The delay sound is really high quality. I find the 60s tape delay setting is my favorite, but it's not as obvious as some pedals that model a tape delay. This one sounds good without it being obvious and over the top, kind of 60s tape delay emulation like you find sometimes. So it's kind of a good medium level for that. And the reverbs are nice and clear. They work really well. I'm sure they'd probably work on other things, even though I just used it on a guitar today. But still, that's useful to have a pedal that you can use on a send from your console, so you can add other guitar type effects to guitars in your mix afterwards. A lot of people use pedals in mixes like this. Don't know if anyone's ever used one of these before, so I did that today for you guys. And I hope that you all have an excellent day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching.